Well, greetings. A little bit of my background. I have been studying or involved with canal history for probably the last 20 years, either as a volunteer or a staff at the Musto Store or the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. Um, Canal history just amazes me. Uh, I probably know best about the Ohio and Erie Canal, especially the section of Akron to Cleveland. Um, when I learned that the Portage Parks had a site related to the Pennsylvania Ohio Canal, I got very excited. I knew something about it, but I wanted to research it. Um, I have to say that my research is incomplete. There's a lot more for me to learn. It's more like the more I learn how much I didn't know. Some of you out there may know more about the Pennsylvania Ohio Canal than I do. And I'm hoping that we will be able to connect at a later date because for sure I have some connections. So, some questions about what's happening. I've made some good connections so far, but I'm looking forward to making some more. So, um, I hope you enjoy this. I've enjoyed putting it together. The photo that you're seeing, you're going to see it again later. So I'm going to go to my first slide um, and show you this building. It was dedicated in 1897. Um, and to me, it's one of my favorite courthouses of Ohio. I'm hoping some of you might have seen it. It is the courthouse over in Warren. Why it is important uh, is because Warren was considered at one time the capital of the Western Reserve. And because of that, a number of things happened in Warren in relationship to the Western Reserve. And actually, um, as you can see from this historical marker, there was a convention held at Warren's first courthouse in 1833 to discuss this canal. And when I found this historical marker, and historical markers are one of my tools in my research, um, I was very surprised to see some names that I knew. It notice it said Perkins, King, and Todd, and then Pease. Simon Perkins, I always related to the canal in Akron. And knowing some of the people, I think really adds interest to any historical story, knowing the people and what they did and what they were thinking. So you can see this historical marker talked about canal advocates in Warren, including these people. And one of the big differences was that this canal, the P&O, was more privately funded, individually funded, whereas the Ohio and Erie Canal was state funded. So that's a key difference. Um, Another thing with historical markers, and any of you in Ravenna, um, here's an example of helping me. There's a marker in Ravenna that's related to the Ohio canals, and it's about Benjamin Tappan Jr. Tappan. Hopefully, I'm saying that right. The neat thing about that is that he was on the Ohio Canal Commission in 1822 to 1834. So he was involved in actually the Ohio and Erie Canal. So um, knowing these people, I think helps to add to the story, but especially Perkins and King they were both very involved in the Akron Canal, or I should say the Ohio Erie Canal. The other side of the marker brings up a point that I think is part of the story I want to tell, is how important this canal and the other canals in Ohio were to the people of Ohio. It provided an outlet for their products. And if you'll notice, and maybe you never thought about a canal boat carrying coal, but that's one thing they carried. You can see where I am in the middle: coal, iron ore, cheese, butter, and other produce. So that was what was going out. What was coming in was sugar, molasses, fruit, and other needed products. Well, okay, what other needed products might there be? Glass, fine cloth, salt, coffee. So the canal provided a transportation to get things and transportation to export. So canal was important to their life at the beginning of these people. Keep in mind, roads weren't very good, and canals were one way to transport large quantities. So canals served a function. Here's just another view of that courthouse on the cloudy day that I checked out the marker that was there. So travel Ohio, you see some beautiful courthouses, and actually there is a book of courthouses of Ohio. So check it out. Something else to do in Ohio. Road trip. The map, and I'm going to show you quite a few different maps or posters. Notice this is the canals in 1840. Spot ours. Our Ohio Erie Canal is here. And most of you are probably familiar with this one. This is the Erie Canal up in here. When I saw this map, I kind of surprised about the distance, but when anything was, shipped on this one way or another, they had Lake Erie to go through. So that was kind of a distance thing. Then Erie Canal, but Erie Canal, once it opened up, there was more reason for our Ohio Erie Canal. The other thing this map shows is, well, that's a lot of distance. Wouldn't it be easier just to go here across? And that's in 1840, where part of the reasoning this happened is if we could get a canal over to here into Pennsylvania, then this area would open. So, this is what we had for a while. Made sense to try to get this one in 1840. So, a lot of maps here. Another marker. This is one that's over in Monroe Falls. It talks about this is 82 miles feeder connecting the Beaver Valley, which is around the Pennsylvania area, Newcastle. And again, the community's canal path linked them to the world. I mean, that may sound, extreme, but really something that was produced in Akron, produced in Ravenna, could end up on the East Coast, or if you go the other way, could end up in New Orleans. So it really opened it up. And by the time this was all going in the 1840s, 1850s, Ohio population grew to the third of the states, and it just was a booming vehicle. The canal really helped move citizens west, is another way to say it. Move populations west. This is one of my favorite areas. This is an area where I hope you visit, and maybe even we can visit it together. Cascade Valley, this is in Akron. And just another sign. Here's, guess what, another historical marker. And see if I can get my clicker right. The Mustel store is now open on weekends. It is a museum. It will give you canal history. It's staffed by volunteers. It's often referred to as the jewel of the Ohio-Erie Canal. COVID has really changed a lot of this presentation in a lot of different ways. But again, I invite you to come there and maybe we can work something out with Portage Parks and we can kind of share stories. You're going to get tired of markers maybe. But anyhow, the Cascade Valley is what we're talking about. The Ohio-Erie Canal got to Akron in 27. Then you're going to hear about this Crosby Mill race. Crosby and Perkins, that is an interesting story between these two gentlemen and getting the canal to come to Akron, and talks about the canal north, south, worldwide again, and it ended at 13. And Jen, I think I want question 1.
And where did the Ohio and Erie Canal terminate in the Ohio River?
In other words, obviously it started in Lake Erie, but where did it end up in the Ohio River? I wonder if you picked up the clue that I showed before, but now, so going on, first thing that we need to look, and I'm going to answer that question in a minute, but the majority had Portsmouth, so that's a good thing. Canals need water. In most cases, water comes from rivers for the canals. Notice our Cuyahoga River up here, okay? Mahoning River is here, okay? The Ohio-Erie Canal crossed this divide here. That's in Akron. Akron is right here. But what's interesting to me in this whole thing is that P&O has to cross this one. So, you know, if you think about the one that happened in Akron, that was a huge jump. And that's why in Akron, all the walks are so close together. So we are jumping across the watershed divide. This way, we're doing the same thing. So keep this picture in mind. Here's our canals. The Ohio-Erie Canal, Lake Erie, came down through here, okay? And then it turned and went over to here. This is Portsmouth. These feeder canals or side canals all came in later. You could say there was a feeder canal later that got to Marietta, but that was later. The original came down through here. And I wish you could raise your hand, but why do you think it curved? I mean, why would it have gone down this direction? And pointing information, Cincinnati is over here, and that was another canal. But why would it curve? Well, keep in mind two things. One is this canal was built by state funds, and by curving it, it gave more farmers, more individuals a means of transporting their product. So that's one reason. If it just went down to Marietta, it would miss over here. So that's one reason. Now, another reason may be what this type of Ohio, what's the geology of it? What's the landscape? And I know a number of us know about Hawking Hills. And this is pretty rocky, hilly over here. So that is another reason And if I can go back, the other reason is this curve, and then you have this yellow. So you do have a water source here. So notice that we've got another gap. So the canals did follow the water pattern. Okay, so answer, Portsmouth. So taking a closer look to us up here. So here's our Ohio Erie. This is the Pennsylvania, Ohio over here. Akron, Kent, Ravenna, Newton Falls, there's other towns in here. So it came this way, Mahoning River, and I'm still kind of boggled, mind searching. We're cutting a watershed divide here. So back to Mustle Store, just to give you a couple more views. This is lock 15. It's the lock in front of the store. And yes, I was down in the water. This is the store. Lock 15 is in front of it. Okay. This is the view from that bridge of the water coming through the canal. I want you to notice this pocket. Okay. We're going to see that pocket again. This is 1413. Notice how close they are together. That is because of the steepness of the climb, steepness of the summit. Notice this pocket, pocket here, pocket here. Probably saved, but you may be caught on already. The pockets are where the lock gates fit back in. So the pockets were for the lock gates. This is 30. Here's your pocket. Could talk a number of things about locks that could take a while, but usually the pocket upstream is always shorter than the one downstream. When the canal came through here, of course, these little waterfalls would not be here. So this would all be full of water. And the water was on an average of 4 feet deep. So we have 13, 12. Another season to look at 13, 12. We haven't walked very far to see all these locks. Inside the store is this mural. And this guy did a marvelous job on it. Here's the store. Here's 15. Here's 14, 13, 12, 11, and 10. All right. The locks were that close. Okay. Hopefully you like this question idea. Jen, question 2 about where did this canal get its water? Where did the canal get its water? Yeah, this is one of the questions I always have fun when I'm down there at Muscle Store, because you can see some of this answer, and plus, especially 3rd or 4th graders, this is a good Ohio history question. Answer is Summit Lake. So, and this gets confusing in Akron. And just for your information, this is what Summit Lake looks like. And Summit Lake, one of the neat things about Summit Lake, it has a floating path, which when the Ohio Erie Canal came through this area, the towpath was also a floating towpath. In other words, the mules were walking on a boardwalk, pulling the canal boats. So if you haven't ever walked this or biked it, it's worthwhile. Summit County Metro Parks is in the process of opening a visitor center at Summit Lake. So a lot of neat stuff is happening very close to us. So, but anyhow, the the water that's coming down through here is all coming from Summit Lake. Okay. Now, the thing is that from the marker, we talked about the mill race, and Crosby came up with this idea of a mill race. And the mill race was clever in the sense that water was coming down from, let's say, Akron, and you can think of where the theater is Akron, but and it was coming down. It would power one mill, water power, and then because of the mill race, it will be channeled into another mill, and it would power that. So renewable energy made this an industrial valley. Perkins kind of benefited from this. Crosby benefited from this. King did, and all the owners of these different industries. So this is our first industrial valley. Now the question is, this water is from Summit Lake. Where did the water from the mill race come? And see if I got this. It's from this ditch that Crosby built. And talk about a little story, but if you see here, it says dam on the Little Cuyahoga. He actually dammed it up, made a ditch that ran over here to the top of the hill. And then the water from the Little Cuyahoga, okay, Little Cuyahoga powered these mills. So again, stories, supposedly he dug it at nighttime, so it was a secret, but I don't know. So dam, channel from the Little Cuyahoga came over, and sections of the race, notice, eventually turned into being the P&O Canal. So his ditch that he dug ended up being the P&O Canal in Akron. So that's the whole connection. Here you see the P&O Canal going off the other way. So it, at the summit, was getting water from the Little Cuyahoga. So you really have the Little Cuyahoga in that area. You know, you have this mill race. The Little Cuyahoga has enough water that it runs down, and here's the store. And actually, if you stand at the store in 15, you can see the Little Cuyahoga coming through here. So Little Cuyahoga is what the river is in Akron. The big Cuyahoga never gets to Akron. And if you ride the towpath, you can see where the two of them come together. And I don't think I have that map. So anyhow, this is the start of the P&O. I figured we should start at one end and work our way to the other end. So this is Akron, and we're going through. Before I go on, I need to give some credit. A lot of the information I get is from Jack's book, the history. This is a marvelous book, especially for Akron, but it also gives some basic canal information. So the canal, how the two compare. Here's the Ohio and Erie, 309 miles long, 151 locks. It started, 27 is when it reached Akron, okay? 2 years for that, but it started in 27. Big flood of 1913, and that's from Jack's book. I got this information from Newton Falls, and I saw it in other spots, but the P&O is 83 miles, 54 locks, and it went from 40. It didn't last very long. And I really think part of that was due to the private funding, whereas this was state funding. The other reason it didn't last very long, it was more economical to ship things by railroad versus the canal. So hopefully these questions are okay. Jen, we got question 3. How long would it take to travel these 83 miles? In other words, from Akron to Newcastle, Pennsylvania. How long would it take? 20, 40, 60, 80 hours. Couple facts that you probably need to know, but this will let me know if you know them. I always smile when I do this with the kids or the adults. I'm a retired math teacher, so this is how I get math into my canal talk. So the question is, how long would it take for the 83 miles? And the other thing that blows me away, and I can tell you this, is how long it took a canal boat to get from Mustle Store, which is Lock 15, up to the ball field. Okay, here are some facts for you to keep in mind, and your answer is not over my number, so we're okay there. Is that, first of all, there actually was a speed limit on the canal. The speed limit was 4 miles per hour. So, okay, well, if you divide 4 into 80 with round, so that's 20 hours. But you got the locks to go through. And the locks on an average took 20 minutes. Therefore, you would do 3 locks in an hour, and 3 into 54 is 18. So really the best answer is probably 40. So it would take 40 hours. But again, keep in mind that that's 40 hours carrying much more than any wagon could carry. And depending upon the canal boat family or the business, they sometimes ran at night. So, that's 40 hours, maybe 2 days if they just kept on going and all the conditions were right. And just an FYI, a canal boat from Muscle Store to Akron would almost take 5 hours. So it wasn't fast, but it was better than what they had. So again, this is another one of Jack's books. It's another book that I really rely upon. It's just a very valuable book. This is back to Muscle Store. This is the canal site. I should say the Schumacher site. The Schumacher Mill. This is supposedly, kind of what it looked like. This wheel is actually the wheel that was inside the mill, being turned by water. And the turning of this mill wheel would then turn the millstones, making wheat into flour. You could talk an hour on this mill, but come visit me or let's make an outing. But anyhow, you'll see these panels. They will give you information. You probably can do it without me, but go read them sometime. One of the panels, I hope in Porridge County you would find interesting. It talks about the American company and Schumacher. Fact is that he had a fire in 82, and then he had one in 86, and it pretty much wiped him out. This is a picture of the mill. And if you've ever been around a mill, and sometime even, I know I used to go downtown Kent being around the Star Mill, and I could smell a difference. But mills had a tendency of catching fire. And that's what happened. But this is a long story, but it's a fun story. It's related to Portage County because the Quaker Milling Company of Ravenna, in other words, Schumacher ended up combining with the Quaker Mill Company in Ravenna. I know I attended a talk in the Ravenna Library about this, and I would like to get together with him and put our two stories side by side and compare, but there is a connection between Ravenna and Schumacher. And again, personalities, stories add interest, at least I think, to our history. So, tidbit, one other note, and Jen knows this, and some of you may also. This is a monarch butterfly garden we started a number of years ago. This has all filled in now. Come July, August, it's a neat place to come watch pollinators. So another reason to go down there. So canal went from Akron through Cuyahoga Falls, through Mural Falls, another marker. Talks about how this disappeared, the village, when the canal ended, pretty much dried up, closed in 69, but luckily they were able to keep going. It says a portion of the canal you can see. I went to look for it, but I didn't find it. Remarkable Ohio, you want some resources, information about your county, about a topic, go to Remarkable Ohio. You can search by county, you can search by topic. So kind of a neat website. Okay, this is the railroad track. I went to look, and I maybe should spend more time looking, but my quick look did not see the canal part. This is what the river looks like now. This is what the river used to look like. We could do a talk on the Cuyahoga River and the removal of the dams. But this is a photo I took a number of years ago, but the dam is gone now. The river is navigable. The river is more healthy, and that's another story. So, Porridge Bike and Hike Trail. And as I am saying down at the bottom, I really thank Kent Park and Rec and their signage. They did a marvelous job on the signage. So sometime take a walk whenever. And does that, yeah, someplace it shows up. We're down at the far end, Middlebury Road. That's where we're we're here. And so this goes through downtown and continue. Okay, check these signs out. I've biked and walked this area, and the other day I was walking this area and I looked down here and it says, boy, a nice show of marsh marigolds. But what would they be doing down here? And the conclusion was, this is the canal bed. So the canal bed is down through here. Can't always tell by the landscape, but plants will give us a clue. I'll just leave it at that, okay? You biking or hiking down through, this is what the path looks like. Good walking, good biking. Here's a sign area over here, and I maybe need to get going. The canal bed or prism was 4 feet deep, 26, 40 wide. Towpath is here, okay? River's down here. Towpath is always between the canal and the river, okay? This ditch is where I saw the marsh marigolds, okay? That's where the marsh marigolds were. At one time, I thought this might be the canal bed because of up here, but talking to some people with Portage Parks, they told me this is probably not the canal bed. The canal bed is over on the other side. This picture is in the Peninsula area, but it demonstrates the thought better. Here's the river, here's the towpath, here's the canal. Towpath again is between, partially as protection from the river coming through. And we could say, well, why build the canal if the river's here? You think about that. This is down in Canal Fulton, and I put this in just for you to have an idea. Canal boats were pulled by mules, 2, 3, whatever, in a line attached. This was wide enough for 2 canal boats, okay? Usually mule skinner drove them. Canal boats, usually the family lived on board. I'm gonna save some of that because I want to keep this fairly in time. One note, and this isn't James, but one note that they do say is that James A. Garfield was a mule skinner. He worked on the canal, but he got sick and then he went back to school. So Garfield did work on the P&O. There's record of that. Another sign. Again, these are just really worth reading. Take a walk, read them. Very well done. This one is of the Plum Creek culvert channeling beneath the trail. Okay. Then it gives more information about the street. Lock 6 is where you come out. 15 is going back in. I'll explain more of that. But so this is a picture of the culvert. Is it still there? Yes, it is. And there it is. I ended up walking down the trail, saw a spot, cut over to the railroad track and photographed back. So kind of a neat canal structure that is still intact. Okay. We only got 2 more questions to go. This is question 4. Okay. Are there any Ohio Erie Canal aqueducts between Akron and Cleveland? A culvert goes under. Okay. An aqueduct, however you want to say that, is a water bridge that actually carried the canal over a river. So they actually built this bridge to carry the canal water and the canal boats over a river. And I'm asking, does that happen any place between Cleveland and Akron? Thinking about that, I did receive a note or a letter from a gentleman who told me that actually there was a aqueduct in Newton Falls, and they are going to put a sign or a marker beside it. So the P&O did have several aqueducts in several spots, and they are going to be marking one in Newton Falls. You said 3, and that is my assumption too. I'm wondering if you can name them, but I will name them for you. The one that I hope you know, and maybe this is your first one, the one in Peninsula, okay, this is looking down, I'm standing by the train station looking towards it. This is looking underneath. What's so interesting about this aqueduct is there's a lock attached to it. That wasn't always the case. Here is the one area, so canal boat would come in here, go up, and then cross the Cuyahoga River here. And I think this picture is maybe a little better. So you're going to see there was a water bridge across the Cuyahoga River, and you can see that in Peninsula. Think that this bridge is the bridge that the mules walked. The other 2 are down at Tinker's Creek. There's an aqueduct there. and there is one more up in Cleveland. So I'm wondering if those are the three you thought. So I'm glad you got three. So they are around. They were definitely difficult to build. This is out of Jack's book. Talks about Crosby. Then it says this system of 16 locks and several slack waters led the canal through Cuyahoga Falls, Monroe Falls, Franklin Mills, and Ravenna. So question is, do you have a concept of what a slack water is? And that's what the next few slides are about. Going to this area in Kent, seeing this sign, and good poster. We are standing, in a sense, right here. See what else I could give you. This, you're seeing the river, but we're standing looking down, and that's where the canal that's here came out of, the canal came to a lock and then got into the Cuyahoga River. So that's what is happening in Kent. That process is called a slack water, where you have a dam and then the canal boats were actually in the water supply or in the river. So that is that location. What else? Oh, this is another good one to know. Number 4 is Brady's Leap. Okay, Brady's Leap is here. What's 5? That's the old town hall. That's the white building. So the canal got into the river by means of the dam that's there. Okay, this is what that looks like now. This is the remains of a lock wall. Okay, and luckily I was around to be able to photograph it when they let the water out. So here's your lock. Here's your lock. Here's a pocket. I think some of this actually fell apart, or you see debris over here. Obviously, this is a number of years. Here's a number of you. May 01 is when I photographed this. So you can see a lock. So the canal is down here. Canal boat's going to come in here and get into the lock. And then the lock is going to lift the boat up and get it into the river. So then the river is the means, or the water, where the canal is. Hopefully that made sense. This, I'm using this diagram. Here's your lock gates. Okay, there's the metal handles here. I'm going to show you what those metal handles are. Here's your pocket. Okay, the lock gate, the metal handle is attached to a small, what's called wicket. That is what let the water in and out. And again, long story here, but basically you could not open this big gate unless the water was equal on both sides of it. And how they control the water level is by this wicket. Okay, so wish I could say, you understand? This is a photo I took a number of years ago of the water. So actually the canal boat would be in here and moving down. Some data on that. The dam was built in 36. Notice how that goes along with 1840. Covered bridge came across through here, 37. New one, 877. So 1840, 37 fits. I think you people, especially in Kent or this area, know that Franklin Mills is the name, or was the name at the beginning. It became Kent in 1863 because of Marvin Kent and the railroad. So I do like the park now, but I always thought this was one of my favorite pictures from the old days. And I carried the camera. Here's that bridge, the park, they did a good job. But I wonder if you ever notice these dimples. Notice how they're all at the top, in the middle, and this is standard. I can show you spots where other stones have been quarried. Now, what were they for? Well, to get them out of the quarry. So when you see those, think that diagram and how the stones were quarried and they were picked up. This came from the geology book. Fun book to have with the stones, especially if you like quarries. Brady Sweep, old picture again. I know when I was doing Native American history, I had to go see Brady Sweep. And I said, no way could I jump across there. And so there's an explanation. You know, I looked here, I said, no way could I jump across there. How could anybody do that? Well, the point is that this wall was shaved back so that the canal boats could come through here. So the Brady Sweep you're seeing today isn't what Brady jumped. And so the canal walls were shaved back so that canal boats could navigate this further. I haven't been down there lately, but this is gone. I don't know what they're doing. Here you can see how that wall has been changed. That's just another view. You know, they are doing something. I guess they're maybe redoing the sidewalk. Maybe somebody can tell me, but okay, this is standing on top of the Crane Avenue Bridge looking to Kent. This is the Cuyahoga River. And when I was going through photos of Kent, I looked at that photo. And again, I hope somebody puts together stories about the P&O or information. But I look at this and I say, no way am I going to take my canal boat down through that stretch when it's flowing like fast. I mean, I would stay in the regular canal as opposed to getting into the river. You know, that no way put a canal boat into Cuyahoga River. And you see the canal, Cuyahoga River at flowing. So slackwater had its disadvantages, okay? Slackwater had its disadvantages. We're down here now, we were here, down further, here's Crane Avenue Bridge. Later, the canal would come out of the river. And I believe if you remember that one spot, that actually it was lock 5. And the thing is that the one lock was 6, lock 5 is the big one. So as you go up a hill, your numbers decrease. So where is lock 1? Many of the questions that's coming up, but eventually the canal came out, okay? Riding my bike, which is what I often do, another sign. This talked about the canal, and this is where you can start seeing the canal now. In picture downtown Kent to, I'll call it Beckwith's Trailhead. I know that's what I'm not supposed to call it, but and it's almost halfway in between, but this is closer to Kent. Because what? The canal was coming out of the river. And again, you had your ditch. Probably the towpath was over here, and then the river's on that side. Here's another view. You have your prism. this is a person walking on the path. So we for sure have very good signs, evidence of the P&O, especially through this one stretch. And the other thing, if you notice the season, winter, fall is best to look for canal remnants, because in the summer, everything's grown up, okay? Down further, you're gonna cross a bridge, get to another sign. This is the sign for Breakneck Creek, okay? It's what the creek is looking like. And if I haven't said yet, Breakneck Creek did play a role in the P&O Canal. So this creek does fit into our story. Now, this is a park map, okay? And the arrow is pointing to this area of the bike and hike trail. So that's the bike and hike trail. And I think this is my last question. What I'm looking for is what the name of this park is. This is almost a Portage County quiz of, do you know your parks? So 3 is the bike trail. 3 is the bike trail. Notice that's on the other side of the river. Why that is important to know this is Morgan. It is when I go to Manaway, I usually go 303 cross up to 43. And what do I go through is a community of Sharewaresville. Try to get that out. Okay, Morgan's down here. Okay, this is Dick's. But so there's this community up here. Okay. And if you go that way, you're going to see this historical society. And I have to say, I searched websites, and they had a very good statement about the canal. And in a sense, they said the Weaver Farm in Shawersville provided water for a 10-mile feeder canal to Pippin Lake. So eventually they had a canal that connected to the P&O. And just another view of their buildings. Someday, hopefully, I'll get in. I put this in because this is the Brexville Dam, which is now gone. But the Brexville Dam is one of the really good examples of a dam in a river backing up the water and then being fed into the canal. And that's what happened at Brexville. The dam was put here, the water was backed up, the water went in through here into a feeder into this Ohio-Erie Canal. This dam is new, but it was put there by the steel industries, but there was a dam here. So damming up a river, causing the water to go into a feeder, and then the feeder becoming a navigable, another crazy word for me, a river where water could be channeled or a canal could be used. So that was common. It seemed like from the map that I found today that actually, and I got to go check this out now, I keep finding new stuff. Here's the Cuyahoga River. And there was a dam in this area. And I guess Jen and the rest of it could be close to the Fox takeout. And so there was a little area, but there was a canal that ran down through Pippin and then eventually got into the canal. So think of our bike path as our canal, got into the canal here. So that it was a feeder canal And so we've got feeder canals going into the P&O. So hopefully that made sense. Got another road trip for me to go find that. And I hope that made sense. Okay, here's Breakneck, a better view as opposed to on the park map. So Lake Rockwell is here, you know, the bike path is in here. So here's Breakneck, here's Porridge County. Okay, you see some of the other waterways. Okay, so guess what 5 is? 5 is our Breakneck Park that, I don't know, Jen, you're going to talk more about that later?
Yes, the Breakneck Creek Preserve, which is currently not open to the public, but it is on our list that we would like to see opened. There was quite a bit of utility work that was done this past year with, there's a utility easement there, so that opening has been delayed, but Breakneck Creek does run along the north side of that property, and it is gorgeous.
So that for sure has the canal history. Now, the other thing that I drew in here, which I believe is accurate, but you remember that first one, I said there was a divide between the Cuyahoga River and the Mahoning. This is where I think it goes, down through here. How accurate this is, I'm going to have to look at other maps.
It's very close, actually, Denny. It runs almost along 44. It zigs and zags in and out along 44, but that's close for that's a close guess.
So thank you. I'm glad I'm close at least. But the point is, in Portage County, we have a watershed divide, which creates some problems for the canal. These rivers here are going to the Mahoning. They're going east. And so this one is going west, so to speak. We need to get from this area over to here. And we need to cross that summit. And this is where I need help. And this is part 2, but it's like figuring out like this body, you know, not sure what that little lake is. This is Hotchkins. Sunny? This is Muzzzy or something.
Yeah, Muzzy Lake and Lake Hodgson.
Yeah. So it's what play in here, and I know a couple of people I talked to felt that Hotchkins was at one time a water supply for the canal. But unfortunately, I did not find any of that information on the web. Not that it has everything, but the P&O is understudied. That's why we need some books. That's why we need to continue this. So that's where we are, folks. Is next part is we're gonna get us from the Breakneck Creek area over the divide and on into Newton Falls. The question is about the canal and Ravenna. That's another answer. So probably have more questions than that, but good news, bad news, I've talked an hour. And here's the Mahoning River.